which there was a battle there. Up the Over Mountain men camped in his yard. Okay? And all these things, you know, people know. Colonel Wrightstill, again, another Revolutionary War person, that he would stay with him every time he went that way. And I can only imagine the discussions. Just think about what you're going to talk about. These people aren't going to talk about the Bible. Andre Guillebeau fled the King of France, fought in the Revolutionary War, and I know Leon and I talked with him, but it's really hard tracking down exactly what they did in the Revolutionary War. Christian Reinhardt, anybody heard of him? Charles has heard of him. I can't see you back there, Charles, but I was going to pick on you.
Brad Snow.
Yeah, and we've been there, and everybody that's been there seen his cabin. This is his replica of the cabin. So there was a battle fought between his buddies. I don't know exactly what side it was on. But I saw that picture, and I've been there, and that was so sweet. John Tipton, house is still there. Let's see, served as a recruiting officer and a member of the Virginia House of Burgess. And he was an integral part of the Franklin thing against Sevier or whatever that guy's name is. Dr. Alexander took care of the cabin. That was a late addition. His father presided over the Mecklenburg Conference. I assume everybody knows what it is. He went to Princeton with James Madison and Aaron Burr. Man, this boy where did he get this? Where did he get these connections? He's some French gardener. He took care of the cabin. One of the first trustees of the University of South Carolina, which may or may not be an honor. He met Andrew Jackson when he went to Tennessee, when Jackson was a young attorney. And you know about Jackson's, you know, getting hit with the sword by the British guy at the Waxhaws or wherever that is. And I put in there, either born in South Carolina or North Carolina, as we know on the line. But Charleston is trying to say he was born there, you know, so we have to watch this kind of stuff. This is Peter Pond and his map of Canada. You know how we have our history, we kind of forget about the Canadian history and the British history. But this dude made the map, and Michaux followed it. And you know, some of these things kind of relate to the discomfort between the British and the Americans. This is an affair that is having a book written as we speak. So Michaux and Jefferson and the APS, everybody know what the APS is? American what? Society? Physiological?
Philosophical.
Huh?
Philosophical.
Philosophical Society. But anyway, so Jefferson wanted Michaux to be Lewis and Clark. Okay? And I'll tell you in a minute why it didn't happen. But Michaux had all the characteristics. He was rugged, he knew maps, he knew the Indians, he knew language. And that's actually Jefferson's writing. Today was from the new Republic of France, whatever they called it after the beheading of the 16th king. And he was sent to America as basically the ambassador. He became minister. France was at war with England and Spain, which is important here. Jefferson sent him with Guinea to go to the Mississippi and up there exploring the Spanish territory because Spain had blocked New Orleans. They couldn't get out, so people weren't real happy with Spain, and of course the Americans wanted Canada. Well, he went out there to Tennessee, I think he's from Tennessee, to George Rogers Clark, whose brother is the Clark that went on Lewis and Clark. He was well known, kind of down on his luck, needed some oomph. And he was trying to get Michaux, or Michaux was trying to get him to support, going out west. He had a letter of recommendation from Jefferson to Isaac Shelby to Clark. So these, Jefferson's giving letters of recommendation in the Marquis of Lafayette. And of course, he was famous for his King's Mountain thing. Now this is the one area in the book, okay? You all remember this area. This is the APS Society's list of people that gave Michaux money for his trip. Okay? And Charlie has that in his book. Unfortunately, he didn't recognize this name right here. Jared Ingersoll. That's my kin. My kin gave money to Michaux. Is that cool or what?
So my wife,
Did you?
brother Morris.
Oh yeah, he's up there too. I keep forgetting that.
How much, Jeff?
Who said that?
Who's
Unfortunately, I'm going to ask you to leave. $8. And that one I just showed you was actually the first payment list. There was a couple of, one is what he owed, the other is what he owed. I'm sorry, keep going. But so that was just a happy night when I saw that, to say the least. Now, so what happened was, Michaux went out there, saw these people, and it was intrigued. And this guy, Genet, wasn't a real happy person. He pissed people off. He went to Russia to the Queen there, and they pissed him off because it was the revolutionaries first the monarchies. Okay? But anyway, that didn't work out. And that put the big oomph on Michaux, in his reputation. Okay, summing up here, going back to Charleston. So Michaux had his garden in Charleston. This is it. This was a lot of fun, the metal detect, and do stuff. Now, the story of this is, it got lost. So Michaux was there, everybody knew he had it in Charleston, but they didn't know where it was. So there was some guy that just looked, found the plaque, found the things, and when he in 1906 or something came to look, this is a magnolia tree at his plot, which is now at the end of the airport runway. Okay? Very famous tree. This is the plot of Michaux's place that we have. It was a triangle, 111 acres, so they say. And if you look at this from the old plats, you can see the road. This is the archaeologists that are surveying it for the new road to go to Bowen. I got that clandestinely. Come to the mic. All right, but anyway, they've looked hard. We looked hard. Here's LiDAR of the area. This is Aviation Boulevard. This is the area here. In the maps, it was at the 10-mile marker of the stagecoach line, or whatever they call it now. And I found, that area is still there. This is 10 Mile News, okay? And what the story was, in the early 1900s, when they found where it was, you could see that from here. They just looked that way, and that's his thing. And they actually had an advertisement in the wonderful Charleston newspaper that says, trips out to Michaux's, bus line trip to Michaux's. So in 10 years or so, they found his place. This is his New Jersey garden site, which I've been to, which, again, disrespectfully now is a cemetery. What was the joke of that? Something about lying in rest. So trucks are there. It's not a happy place. It's here in Hoboken, the home of Frank Sinatra. So it's well mapped out today with the railroad and where this place was. All right, this is about the end. He was the botanist. Like in my world, the doctor world, you know, there's certain doctors we go to. You know, he was the botanist. His books that were published were published by him and his son on the floor. He published one on the quercus, the oaks. So his son carried on. This is Charlie's book. It's a big one, but it's a good one. Also, the Smithsonian Magazine last month before, had a review of this book in it. So he's become famous. And I'm very proud of it, you know, and I was part of all this. And this is the Smithsonian. These are two other books that Charlie was involved in. We placed a mural, if you go to the airport in Charleston, which, you know, is where the world meets, Charleston, actually. Cooper come together and meet to make the world. You haven't heard that? But anyway, this was done, a lot of fundraising for this thing. It's beautiful. This is Charlie on the right and his two co-authors, and I want you to notice the bottom. We self-funded this project. You know, just like Michaux did. Michaux had to self-fund. This is where Michaux is now. He went to Mauritania on another trip after the king and all that French stuff. Then went to Madagascar. His grave was lost. One of the co-workers found it. So we now know where Andre Michaux is. That's it. Charlie, you on the line?
Dr. KLINE.
Yeah.
If you go to the site in Charleston today, are there any exotic plants still there you wouldn't expect?
You know Dr. Porcher, right?
Yes, sir.
He's looked, his student, me, I looked. I found some bur oaks, and that tree in the Jardin de Plantes is a bur oak. The range of the bur oaks possibly could get there. But the answer to that is no. There are artifacts, and some of my artifact slides I didn't bring. Found a lot of artifacts. They appear to be 1800-ish, not 1790s. And D.D. Joy. Oh, I left out that slide. I worked with Leon's wife on this, by the way, and I was going to bust him a little on that, and somehow I left the slide in.
When you go into Charleston Airport, or when you're leaving, on the right, beneath the mural you showed, you'll find Jeff's name and my wife's name on a bronze plaque. So
We're immortalized. We'll be immortalized in poems. Ozymandias. Andre Michaux. Anybody else have a question?
Yes, I'm a horticulturalist as well as a history buff. But Andre Michaux is responsible for importing Camellia sasanqua and Camellia japonica into the United States. His Goose Creek Gardens was the first place to have that, as well as crepe myrtle and mimosa.
Exactly.
So we owe him those favors. And he exported a Fraser magnolia from the mountains of North Carolina to Marie Antoinette's gardens in Paris as well. So I'm not sure if that tree is still there or not. I know she's no longer around.
Yeah, not with her head.
But he's very prolific.
He was very prolific. There's been 300 or so plants he first described. There's like 30 that are named after him. Now, when you go through this, and Mr. Williams, Charlie knows, he didn't mean to follow this, but you know, every generation changes the name of these plants. So you can take one plant and spend a week trying to figure out exactly what it was. But the Fraser magnolia was the macrophylla, the big leafed. And the Fraser magnolia now, it has little things down at the bottom that do like that. Both of them do that. So, and Fraser is the Fraser I mentioned.
Thank you, Jeff. Let's take 15 minutes and Oh, by the way, if anybody wants to see an